Bernard Tobin here, RealAgriculture.com, here at SoilSmart in Waterloo, and I'm joined by soil agronomist Ray Archuleta. Welcome to the show, sir. Welcome to Canada.
Thank you, Bernard. I appreciate it.
Hey, now you've just finished about 2 hours presenting here.
Yes.
To about 400 people, an amazing room in there.
Yes.
And I want to take a couple of spots just to talk about a couple of core things that you talked about. And I guess a big part of your presentation is, that road to soil health.
Yeah.
And a big part of what you're saying is really understanding the sociological and ecological context of soil and how to manage it.
Right. I think one of the things, Bernard, going through this journey, I started realizing as I was traveling through the whole country, I was realizing that a majority of producers didn't understand not only the ecological context, but the social context. And what I mean by the ecological context, I think that it passed us that we didn't realize that that farm was hewn out of the prairie, hewn out of the forest, and it's ecological. And ecological, I mean everything's connected, and it uses the science of ecology. And it's what I love about ecology. It talks about the relationship between us, the plant, the microbe, the animal, ecological context. It's ecological and it's alive. The social aspect about it is that we didn't value it. That one of my slides I say is that what's gone in the way is that we have been so consumed about making income and looking at the soil as not a living agent, but we look at it as a growing medium. And we think that science is going to fix our problems. It's not. It's learning how to connect people back to the land, to understand that the soil is alive and everything's living and we're part of it. We're part of that context. So it's very critical that they understand the social and ecological context. And the other social aspect is we impact each other. We watch our neighbors, we look at them, but we should be looking at the natural system. We should be students. So it's very critical we understand it's going to be us. We have social, ecological issues.
Now, you talked about 7 probably key points that's involved in that. Let's go through them quickly. Number 1, reduce chemical, biological, physical stress.
Yes, and what I talk about is the physical stress is that extensive tillage. Nature does not till. That's why when you saw my presentation, the first part of the first 10 minutes is to show you how destructive tillage is and show you those soil demonstrations. Nature does not till. Her tillage equipment are arthropods, organisms, earthworms, roots, and the other types of disturbance, overgrazing, biological disturbance. Too much fungicides, herbicides, insecticides impact that elegant universe, that elegant organisms. So reduce the stress. I tell producers, soils can handle acute stresses, but they can't handle chronic stresses, just like the human body. Human body, you can lift weights, it thrives in that stress. Chronic stress, if you smoke, you eat wrong, you don't sleep, chronic stress, you're going to get sick. Same thing with the soil. Too much fungicides, too much insecticides, too much tillage, chronic stress, the system collapses. That's why we say reduce the stress you do to the system, the disturbances.
Right. We also say cover the soil all the time.
Yes. If you watch natural ecosystems, prairies, forests, they're covered 24/7. Our systems are covered for 4 to 5 months, and that's it. And then what you have is you have no cover to protect the soil and feed biology, and you're not capturing solar energy and convert it into liquid carbon, which feeds the soil biology. So we say cover the soil, armor it, protect it from the heat, from the climate, with residue, covers, and plants.
And you say, hey, no, let's go a little deeper. Let's have roots growing 24/7.
Absolutely. Man, those roots are the conduits of energy. I call them like the drinking troughs. They're the ones where the microorganisms go in and they feed right out there. As soon as you put a living root, here come all the organisms. The first ones are the bacteria. And they start grazing, like watching a young calf suckling at a mother's udder. That's where the carbon pathway happens. It starts right there. These plants leak sugars, carbohydrates, proteins, amino acids. It all starts right there by a living cover in the root.
Synergy, so important when it comes to diversity, cover crops, all those type of things.
Yes. When ecology is not 1 + 1 = 2. It's 3, 4. That's what synergy is. When you start applying one of the principles, you get some benefit. You start applying the other principle, you even get more benefit. But when you start integrating, you start just getting multiplicative effect. It's not 1 + 1 = 2, but it's 4, 6, 9. You're having all the system integrated and it starts working and flowing for you.
You also you brought in Stephen Covey, his 7 habits of affecting people.
Yeah.
Talk about that and how that works for producers.
See, as I go across the country, what I've observed, why are those 1 to 10% of producers that I call the early innovators? What is common with them? And I started observing is that they're applying the 7 habits of effective people. Now they may apply 2, may apply 3, but there's a common pattern. And it's I've watched it, like one of them is they believe in win-win. Some of our top producers are win-win. They share their knowledge. They want the other producers to benefit. They always have the end in mind. Like, for example, soil function. They synergize. They help others. They sharpen the saw. They're very astute. They're students. They're always sharpening that saw, becoming technically sound. My top producers are applying the habits of effective people. And then I realized to be more effective, had to go back and read Stephen Covey's book and I oh, I missed it. It's very important where you cannot build ecological integrity unless you build human integrity. Yeah. And those habits help do that.
And it needs to be a holistic approach. And you said, really, farmers can no longer farm without being soil ecologists.
Yes. They have to be. See, because they're already agronomists, they're machinists, they're mechanics, they're economists, they're CPAs. I mean, they have to go through all this, but they need to forget the most important thing. They have to understand the ecology, how everything's connected, and understand the principles. They might not have to know all the minutia, but if they can flow and use these principles, then they can start seeing, then they can back off and start making decisions because nature works wholes and in patterns. So what we're teaching is watch the holes and watch the patterns. And then they start learning how to apply under circumstances the principles. The methods may change, but the principles are always the same. I don't care if you're in Louisiana, I don't care if you're in Maine. The ecological principles are the same.
Hey, some great conversations today. 400 people in there sort of sitting in their seats and hanging on your every word. Thanks for this. We'll look forward to having you on RealAgriculture.com in the future.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Bernard.